you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Tables turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
Yes. We're back in the building, Pete. We're back in the building. You know what time it is. You know what it is. It's G, and we are here for another episode of Post-Match Reaction, or another show, Post-Match Reaction. Liverpool versus Fulham, 1-0 victory thanks to the man you see on your screens, Mo Salah, my guy. That is now, I believe it is 40 goals and assists in all competitions this season. Who says this guy is having a bad season? Yeah, I mean, bad season. What? This is considered to be a bad season. That's crazy. That is crazy. And if you compare him to, you know, all these other forwards and all these other wingers and stuff, you know, that everyone keeps telling me, yeah, man, these guys are having a blinder of a season. But of course, listen, you already know me. You know, I try to keep it, I say real, but just as honest as I can keep it for me personally. Obviously, performances haven't really been that great, but at the end of the day, for you to get this amount of goals and assists in a season that Liverpool have been absolutely shocking, that's brilliant, to be honest. There's nothing else we can possibly say. I believe he's only one behind Steven Gerrard at this current moment in time, in terms of, I think, the all-time list. I think he's moved ahead of Robbie Fowler now. The numbers are frightening. The numbers are frightening. We are watching greatness at this current moment in time. But obviously, we're here to talk about Liverpool versus Fulham. So, Mo Salah penalty. Thanks to Darwin Núñez. I mean, you got to give Darwin Núñez the props. He was able to win the penalty. Probably about the only thing he did in the game, but it was vital. It was vital. So, you know, we got to give our hats off to him, you know, for that. And Liverpool were able to see off Fulham. Just quickly thoughts on it. I think Fulham are really good. Fulham are really, really good. I can see why they've done well this season. I can see why this season they were obviously, out of all the promoted teams who came up, you know, they're the best ones. They really are, man. They play really, really good football. They're very organized, quite structured in the way that they want to play, but they still have that kind of fluidity, you know, in their game. They were missing quite a few players. You know, we didn't see Mitrovic, you know, playing, and a few other players as well. Would I say Liverpool deserved it? I'd probably say yeah, on the face of it. I would say Liverpool probably done enough, you know, in 90 minutes in order for them to, you know, get the victory. But as per usual, you know, it's the same old Liverpool. You know, they make life so difficult for themselves. You know, dominate the ball, 1,000 passes, all of these kind of crazy stats that we keep seeing. Even though Fulham did have quite a lot of passes in the game, they had quite decent amount of possession. I believe they had about 42. Liverpool had about 58. So it was a good game. It was a good game, and I think if we had drawn that game, I don't think too many people would have. I don't think too many people could have complained. Obviously, they would have, but I don't think too many people could have complained, because Fulham, yeah, I mean, they had a few chances. Alisson again, saving Liverpool. We take a quick look, obviously, at the table after that game. You can see Liverpool up in 5th, 59 points, just behind Manchester United, who are on 63. Now, United, who are playing this evening against Brighton, obviously they've got 2 games in hand. So, you know, Newcastle also got a game in hand, which I did not really realize. Brighton have also got a few games in hand over Liverpool. So, you know, there's still quite a bit of football to be played between now and the end of the season. But for Liverpool to get 5 wins, I believe, out of 5, first clean sheet in God knows how long, I can't even remember. You know, I think that bodes well. It bodes well in terms of obviously this. I'm just before I dive into the whole semantics behind the game. Look, 5 out of 5 scoring goals, even though last night was only 1, but you know, Liverpool are scoring goals. In terms of going into next season, though, So, a lot of people saying, oh, Liverpool look brilliant, fantastic. This is Liverpool moving forward, blah, blah, blah. I heard it all before. I've heard it about 6 times this season, I think, if not more. To be honest, anytime Liverpool get on a winning run, this is the formation. This is how we got to play. This guy's got to be in this position, blah, blah, blah. And we're hearing it now. All of a sudden, everyone thinks Trent's got to be in this position. All of a sudden, everyone thinks Curtis Jones is the best thing since sliced bread. All of these other various things. I don't think this is really having a real impact for me on next season at all, to be honest with you. I think Klopp had to just do something to just change it up because things were, it was getting to a point where bloody hell, bro, like it's so stale at this football club, both on and off the pitch, that if you didn't do something, the people who are up Klopp's, even they would start asking, some serious questions as to, what is actually going on here, what is the kind of plan. And I think what I hope anyway is moving into next season, and especially in the summer, I'm hoping that Klopp isn't seeing anything and it's going to have a negative impact on what he does in the transfer window. For example, this is obviously for later, but just the right back position kind of thing. I hope that's an area that gets addressed in the summer. I hope he isn't thinking that no, it's fine. I can, Trent's going to play in this new position. We don't need one. At the end of the day, we need to be able to chop and change. I don't think any team really, the top teams don't anyway, in my opinion. But I don't think you should have just one system and style of play. I think you should be able to change it up. Not crazy. I'm not saying you got to have 6 systems and, you got to be able to do this and you got to be able to do that. I don't think it should be like that. But I definitely don't think that it should just be one system and one system only. But we know how Klopp is. At the end of the day, the guy's stubborn. Once he finds something that he really likes, it is what it is kind of thing. But like I said, to the game anyway. Now, here are my ratings for the game. Just as like a summary, I didn't think that the team played that well, to be honest with you. I thought there was probably only about 2 players that I would have considered to have played that well, to be honest with you. And that was Curtis Jones yet again with another tidy performance in the middle of the park. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I gave an 8, which is actually big for me personally. I don't give out 8s. I feel like for you to be getting 8s, I need to see something kind of crazy. But I thought like Trent was really good. I thought he was our best midfielder, but in my opinion. That's just purely my opinion. Whether that's agreed upon or not, I don't really care. But yeah, in my opinion, I felt like he was the best midfielder. He was the only real midfielder in there. Not even from an attacking sense, because for me, that's not really the biggest plus point when I'm watching Trent, because the reality is any midfielder with any level of creativity in that midfield would look good, because the midfield is stale. You've got Fabinho and Hendo in there. They are not creating shit. So for when that's kind of happening, once Trent gets in there, I felt like I liked his touches on the ball. Range of passing was really, really good in the first half. And he was a bit of a busybody. But obviously I gave Ali a 6.5. Didn't really feel like he did too much. Didn't really feel like he had much even to do, so to speak. But when he was called upon, pulled off some really, really good saves. Obviously the most notable one being from Vinicius, I think it was quite late on. Probably should have scored, but Ali was there, right place, right time, getting a big strong hand onto that. But yeah, all in all, Ali, for me, it's almost becoming just a typical performance from Alisson because of how crap our defense is at this current moment in time and how vulnerable we are as a team. Ali, player of the season, man. Just give the guy the award from now, to be honest with you, because there's no point even waiting. Everyone knows. I think even Klopp has even said, I think he came out and said, in terms of Ali being, Liverpool's most consistent player, this season. And I think he spoke about, how happy he was to get that clean sheet, which is very, very important for goalkeepers. I know that's like a big thing. So, big up to Ali. I thought, yeah, he played all right, man. Moving on to Konate. I give him a 6.5. I could have given him a 6, but I gave him a 6.5. This is what Klopp had to say before I even, touch on Konate, really properly. But this is what Klopp had to kind of say on Konate. If we're not in good shape and the level of the goal he drops as well, then we should have been completely lost, which is an absolute fact. For those who saw the game, a lot of moments were really good tonight, but then there are moments when we still need to adapt to the setup. Trent Alexander-Arnold cannot be everywhere. He cannot be in midfield, and then the next situation, he's directly in the right back situation. On that point in itself, that's something that Klopp needs to sort out ASAP, because it's becoming a bit of a shit show at this current moment in time, and Liverpool have been extremely lucky that we haven't lost any games or dropped any points where we probably should have, if I'm being totally honest with you. Tottenham game comes to mind, Forest potentially. Obviously, we dropped points against Arsenal. So that's an area of the pitch. I keep talking about it. I know you guys are going to be bored of hearing, but every week I keep saying the same things. Konate, Trent Alexander-Arnold, that side, for some weird reason, it just looks horrible. And when I say horrible, they are brilliant players in what they can do, but for some weird reason, maybe it's the instructions given out, and that's why I don't want to get onto them too tough. But ultimately, you're playing there, and I'm not really seeing anything different to when we was playing 4 at the back, and we were still kind of crap and vulnerable down that same side. It goes on to say that has to be covered by Ibu. There were a few situations where Ibu was a bit too far away. They could turn and could attack. We have things to improve, definitely, but in a lot of moments it looked really good or well. Can't remember how that finished off. So yeah, it's like I said, man. When it comes to Ibu Konate on that side, I don't know what it is. Like the communication, maybe there's just a lack of that. I don't really know what the answer is. I do not believe the answer will be just signing a right central midfielder. I actually think that might even. I think it'll be the same. I was going to say the worst, but it's not. I think it will actually just be the same. Whoever you've got in right central midfield, I think anybody who plays in that position, if the instructions are the exact same, but we're just changing personnel, I don't see why it would be any different. That's a fundamental issue, something that Klopp really, 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 really needs to address, ASAP. But, is what it is. Virgil van Dijk, decent game. I thought he was probably about the same level as Ibu. To be honest with you, I don't think he was any better or any worse than he was. Marshall defence pretty decently. Stopped a cross from Harry Wilson. I remember that in the first half, when that came across, Ali was beaten. If that had made it through, then it would have been 1-0 to Fulham. He stopped that, and he played. He played okay. He played okay. Nothing really would I say to write home about, but it was ultimately good enough. And then we come on to Tsimikas, gave him a 6. Weird performance. Now, obviously, we see here his heat map, obviously up and down that left-hand side. Yet again, Liverpool down, on that left-hand side. I thought maybe with Tsimikas coming in, I felt like it would be a good chance to see what it would be like if Liverpool got a better. Obviously, Tsimikas isn't the one, but in terms of getting a better left-sided centre back, what that might potentially look like. But he kind of played exactly like Robbo. I wasn't too happy with it, to be honest with you. I don't think it really helped. To be honest, in the game in itself. This is his stats obviously for the game. 50 touches. His crossing was absolutely rubbish. 5 crosses, 0 on target. But he did make 2 clearances. He did make 2 interceptions. So, I guess it's one of those. It was one of those kind of performances from Tsimikas, but I think that we'll probably end up having Robbo back in at left centre back. Not to say I'm happy with Robbo playing there. I think Robbo needs to pump the brakes a little bit when he is playing in that position. But at the same time, and this is why I wanted to see what it's like with different personnel, and this is why I keep trying to stress to people who listen, and just when we're talking about Liverpool and people keep talking about signings, you need to start understanding the roles that these players are being given. We hear this one with Tsimikas is actually a perfect example. He's been told to do the same things, give or take, that Robbo is actually doing. The only difference that you're going to get is he's a lot nicer on the ball. He's a lot nicer on the ball. Robbo's very direct. He's an energizer bunny. He's very intense, all the passion and all of these kind of things. So obviously you might see a difference in terms of potentially performance and stuff like that. But when you've got someone who's maybe a bit more cultured on the ball, you know, a bit more nicer on the ball, can dribble, can actually use both feet as well, I believe. In terms of Simicast, not well, but he's got a bit of a right foot. I thought maybe we might see something a bit different, but I didn't, and that made me then think, yeah. And that now you've kind of confirmed it for me that, you know, it's the instructions that are being given to the players who are obviously playing, you know, in these kind of roles, and I think that is going to be a fundamental issue for Liverpool moving forward. Obviously, we come to Fabinho, 6.5. Felt like, again, just like Van Dijk, more so. Decent performance. There were a couple of times where players were literally almost walking past him at times, but all in all, decent. You know, decent performance. Nothing really to be too angry about in terms of his performance level. But you could tell if Liverpool get a better six, for example, yeah, that would look totally different. Obviously, you know, we're trying to just talk about the game in itself, but you can just see maybe if we had a different type of player, someone with a bit more energy, someone with a bit more guile, someone with a bit more of a technical ability, then potentially it might look a little bit better. But in regards to last night, you know, I don't think he did anything wrong, so to speak. So it'll be difficult for me to sit there and kind of criticize him. Then we come on to Trent. Now, Trent was everywhere. He was trying to be everywhere anyway. This is his heat map for the game. So this kind of gives him to take this off for you guys. This is his heat map for the game. Everywhere, literally. Obviously, mostly down that right-hand side, but yeah, completely everywhere. He had a decent game, man. His touches on the ball, nice little pirouette. Don't think we didn't see that. Trent, don't think we didn't see that. We didn't know you had that in your locker. But you know, he's showing that. Obviously, clearly, this is the position that he wants to play. But what we're seeing more from Trent Alexander-Arnold is the sheer fact that the difference I'm seeing in Trent now, as opposed to before, is nothing to do with his actual ability, like zero. I actually think that's even irrelevant. What we're seeing more from Trent at this current moment in time is he's getting the ball a lot more. He's receiving passes a lot more. For example, from the centre backs. Instead of before, he might be receiving a pass every now and again if the ball comes out wide to him. So if whoever's on the right centre back row, whether Karate, or whether it be a Matip or Gomez, you know, they might find him, they might not, but then he might be doubled up and all these kind of various different things. Now what's happening is he's almost becoming that dictator. Before, it was almost like he was just the playmaker, or the creative outlet. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to put it. He was more of a creative outlet, in my opinion, where give him the ball out wide, then yeah, boom, 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 all of these things can happen. Whereas now, I feel like I feel like it's maybe even him. Maybe he's even going against what Klopp's saying, because you know, playing in that position defensively. When I say defensively, I don't mean, so for example, interceptions. He made a couple clearances as well. I think defensively for me is when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at your position. I'm looking at where are you in certain defensive transitions. When we've lost the ball, where are you? Not when he's in these duels and stuff like that. Because, you know, when he's in these 8 ground duels, 5 of them won. You know, that's really that's decent for him. That's very, very decent. That's not what I'm actually looking at. It's all about your positional awareness. And I think that's something that he does lack at this current moment in time and has always lacked, to be honest with you. Whether that improves upon time, obviously remains to be seen. It's going to have to improve anyway, playing in that central midfield position, because it's a totally different ball game than, you know, playing on the right-hand side. But ultimately, when he does get the ball, he can dictate play. And I think he does prefer that. I think he likes, you know, getting the ball and being able to kind of dictate where Liverpool are going to go. Whereas before it was always get the ball out wide, because he's got such a great delivery and a great passing range and can whip a ball into the box, you know, on a sixpence. People were just like, yeah, just stick him out there and blah, blah, blah. Whereas now he is, like I said, getting that ball. But yeah, I think 8 was pretty sufficient for Trent. SofaScore gave him an 8.2. So, you know, I thought, why not? The possession loss thing, 79.6% was his accurate passing in the game, which kind of low-ish for him, to be honest with you. 26 times he's lost possession. So whether that be from a dribble, whether that be from a pass, whatever it is, that is something maybe he's going to needs to just maybe improve upon, maybe be a bit more selective at times with certain passes that he is actually trying to do. We saw with one thing, I see quite a lot of people talking about this online, where he should have played Nunes in a little bit earlier. You know, it's just your decision making at times. Sometimes it's just a little bit not really too happy with it. But again, all in all, I felt like he was okay. We'll move on to Curtis Jones. Gave him a 6.5. Again, another tidy game from Jones. Felt like in the game in itself, he's really starting to kind of come into his own a little bit. Maybe this is what happens when you get a run of games in the side, but also I think it's purely because of what he's being asked to actually do within the side in itself. He's now feeling like, well, this is the position that I can play. This is the position that, you know, I don't mind playing. And if I'm going to be playing it for, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row where the manager is going to trust me, even if I make a mistake and all these kind of, you know, various different things, it doesn't matter because he's getting that chance to be able to rectify that, you know, within the game and stuff like that. So, you know, pretty tidy game, I would say, from Curtis Jones in itself. This is obviously his stats from the game. We're moving on. Jordan Henderson. Yep. Thought he was rubbish, if I'm being totally honest with you. Don't really want to spend too much time because I feel like I'm going to start criticizing him a bit too much. But yeah, I thought he was the worst player on the pitch. So we move on to, let's go on to Luis Diaz. Diaz, again, I gave him a 6 for that. I think I gave Jordan Henderson a 5 or a 5.5. Can't remember, can't see it. I think it's a 5 potentially. It could be a 5.5 though. Luis Diaz, I gave him a 6. He has lively moments, but for me, drifts at times in games. I hope he's not going back to the shot happy Luis Diaz. I dislike that Diaz so much. Feel like it's such a waste of possession when he does things like that. And at times, I felt like that's what he was trying to do, was become that shot happy Luis Diaz. Diaz is very, very good when he's running with the ball, when he's able to kind of create space for other players. So whether it be Mo Salah, Darwin Núñez, or Gakpo, or Jota, whoever, I feel like that's when I'm seeing the best of Luis Diaz because he's got great dribbling ability, fantastic technique, you know, loves these 1v1 situations where he can stand up an opponent and beat them. So I'm just hoping he doesn't go back to that Luis Diaz, because that Luis Diaz will not get you many goals this next season anyway. What he'll get you is a lot of frustration that you're actually wasting possession. So let's hope in the future that that's not something that he goes back to. But again, got himself some minutes back on the road to recovery, or not even a road to recovery, just on the road to match fitness, should I say? Sorry. So yeah, 6 I felt was a fair score. Salah. Outside the penalty, I don't remember too much from Mo Salah. Thought it was okay. I think I would have given him a 6, but the 0.5 is purely for scoring that penalty. Again, Mo just. I said this on the Jerry James show. There's I don't know why or what it is, but there's like a certain type of left back that he comes up against, and Robinson, I think that's his name, the left back who played for Fulham last night. Those type of left backs, Salah can't hack those kind of guys. I don't know what it is. I really, really don't know what it is. But he just has such an issue coming up against those type of fullbacks, which is very, very weird. But, you know, it is what it is. And obviously the man of the hour, Darwin Núñez. This is his heat map from the game. Central areas. Obviously, that's where a lot of people prefer to see him playing up front. You guys already know I don't do excuses. I hate excuses. It bugs the life out of me. There's only a couple of excuses I'll probably give you, and that's if you've been injured for like a Van Dijk type of injury or Luis Diaz type of injury, and then come back into the squad and stuff like that. Then yeah, of course, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Luis Diaz hasn't been injured. Just Klopp does not trust him. That is very evident. Doesn't even matter if he plays it between now every game between. Or starts every game between now and the end of the season, which I do not see happening anyway. But even if he did, I still don't think Klopp trusts him. I don't feel like he can do the role that Klopp wants him to do as a central striker. Excuse me. And I'm not even blaming him too tough. if I'm being totally honest with you. We know what type of a guy he is. You know, I don't want to get too deep into it, but we know what type of a player he is. Technically, he's very rubbish, but as a physical type of player, he's very, very good. And I'm really, really starting to understand a lot more now as to why Jurgen Klopp prefers to go over Cody Gakpo. Now, the excuses, which is what we've seen already on social media, content creators, all I've heard so far is, oh, but he's been on the bench, blah, 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 all of that kind of rubbish. Nunes has been here all season, and all season he is flattered to deceive. Last night was just another game that's been added to the pile of games that he is flattered to deceive. And I think he's going to have to really, of all the attackers, which is mad because we only play with 3, but we've got 5 in there for next season. So at this current moment in time, if I don't want to include anybody else, but let's just say with the 5 that we're going to have for next season, he's the one who's probably at the bottom of the list. He's the one who is the big money signing. He's the one who has the most work to do. These times, Diaz only just came back from a crazy injury, and that's the alarming thing about this situation, is that he's got so much that he needs to work upon in order for him to be able to be a mainstay in this team. Will it happen? I have no idea. I hope for his sake that it does happen, to be honest with you. I do hope that it it works out because of the amount of criticism he does get. I do think at times the criticism is a little bit over the top, but then I also think that the praise is a little bit over the top as well. Understandably, people want him to do well for Liverpool and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes you got to call, as my guy O said yesterday, sometimes just call a spade at times. And Darwin Núñez is a spade, to be honest with you. But yeah, that was kind of my ratings for the game, in itself. And, as I said, when it comes to, Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez, Cody Gakpo came on and instantly Liverpool, in my opinion, played better in the forward areas. They weren't great. They definitely was not great. Let me not sit here and try to act like, oh, we were amazing. I still think Liverpool have, again, a fundamental issue in terms of sustaining the level needed to be able to win these games comfortably. I think that's something that Liverpool are lacking severely this season as a whole. I felt like they were lacking that last season as well, but we were getting away with it because we were able to get enough goals and things like that and magical moments. But when we're in games where we just, like a game like last night is probably a perfect example, and I think Trent Alexander-Arnold actually spoke about this in terms of Liverpool not being able to sustain this over a longer period of time. First half, Liverpool were, in my opinion, pretty good. Second half, they dropped off yet again, and they let Fulham back into the game. And had Fulham have scored, like I said at the beginning of the show, if they had scored, I don't think many could have argued with the sheer fact that they have, because at the end of the day, that I felt like they probably would have. They deserved a goal at the bare minimum just for their football. But Gakpo, when he did come on, Liverpool looked like they were able to connect a little better. Darwin Núñez, even though he was on the pitch with Gakpo, still felt that he was quite lost. I still felt like he was still trying to figure out what it is he needs to do, and et cetera, et cetera. So, like I said, he's the one at the bottom of the list, but it looks like Gakpo might be the one who is at the top of that list, or at least obviously not ahead of Mo Salah, but just at least being in a position where that striker's position for next season is obviously going to be his. Now, taking a look here, this is a little graph I saw yesterday, and it goes back to what I was saying about Liverpool and, that side of the pitch, yet again, being the side that teams will always target. And I think a lot more teams are going to really go hammer and tongs next season, especially knowing that Liverpool's right-hand side is very, very weak. I really just don't know what it is. It's just every game. Yeah, you get the odd 1 or 2 games in a season, but if you actually added up all the games that we look at these kind of arrows and stuff like that, I can guarantee you it's most of them are coming down that right-hand side. It doesn't matter who you seem to play there. It just always seems to happen. And I think that's something that Liverpool definitely need to address ASAP. But Liverpool, like I said, that's 5 wins out of 5. That's it's good for their confidence for this season. Like I said, I don't think it's going to have any real bearing for next season. I think this is just more of a. I feel like he's kind of done these kind of changes in order to get certain players to be able to play in a different potential system. So, like a Curtis Jones, for example, getting Trent to actually just stay in that defensive six position. But we're still seeing, the same issues that we've been seeing for a very, very long time. Now, if you look at this, now obviously they didn't score from this. I'm struggling, like really, really. First of all, why is Van Dijk on the right hand side? That baffled me. But either way, regardless of anything, what is this line? What is this line? I one pass into Vinicius. I think that's how you say his name. One pass into him, and they almost scored. If it wasn't for Ali, then they would score. And I'm just so confused, like why the defense just always seems to be so vulnerable. I was. You could make a case, Darwin Núñez. Are you pressing? Not really. Maybe you could have potentially helped to have closed that down. Midfield, where is everybody? Like, where are all the midfielders? Where is my defensive six midfielder? Any of them? Trent's obviously back there, right back. Fabinho is not in my opinion, rightful position because it's just there should be no way that he just gets one pass from the center circle all the way into the front man and gives them a chance. I just don't understand how that's working out. And then if you look at the defense, it's like I said, people always kept saying, Van Dijk was marshalling the defense. Where they had a lot of moments like this. They were getting in behind quite frequently, especially down Tsimikas' side, because defensively Tsimikas isn't that great. And he does switch off, in games. And Harry Wilson was having a bit of fun, in that first half, especially before we scored, where he was getting in quite a bit. And, one pass from the Fulham centre back, straight in, just straight in. So, like I said, 5 is out of 5. It's good to keep the wins going. It's good to also get themselves a clean sheet. But Klopp knows there's a lot of improvement that still needs to be made. Whether that's going to happen remains to be seen. But guys, that is my post-match reaction for you. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Who is your man of the match? Who do you think played well? Who do you think played poorly? Etc. etc. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you also head over to the Jerry James Show and check out all the tactical analysis and post-match reactions that we will have coming up over there. But I'm going to sign out here now, guys. I'm G. That is the post-match reaction done and dusted, and I am out.